fulfilling an individual's life.
Thank you for that, Beth. You know, I meant to stop you earlier, but you were on a roll, and so I didn't, but I wrote this down to remind myself. You referred to something as, I think, reintegrating with self or reintegrating the self. And this is something that you and I have worked on and that we've discussed at length, but it might be a concept that's foreign to many people. And
Sure.
I know that it figures strongly with your clients who have suffered repetitive traumas throughout their lifetimes. So do you care to speak to that?
Sure. At one end of the spectrum, we're talking extremes now. At one end of the spectrum, we can have human beings who have been so frightened and stressed so often that well, we've heard stories about this. The man that's been in a war zone, and he hears a car backfire, and he's completely reliving the terrors he went through in service. Or we can have people who have been so distressed that everything feels like a threat, or everyone's out to get me, or frightened all the time. I mean, I knew a woman some years ago who literally lived next door. She would not come out of the house. She agoraphobia.
Yeah.
And at somewhere at the other end, we have people who are basically carefree, but let's face it, we're made out of a handful of chemical compounds and a lot of water, and we're squishy. We're easy to get rid of. We're mortal beings. All of us have an inherent sense not only of the powerful things that we can do, and we can, but our mortality. So at some level, even the most well-developed of us is dealing with the fact that we're very easily gotten rid of, or taken away from the things that matter to us.
Right.
I mean, people listening right now could raise their hands and tell me, well, I lost my mother when I was a child, or my child died, or this or that. The world is a temporary place, and we feel it terribly. All of us do. So one of the ways in which we deal with this, beginning when we're very small, and I have nothing against this, it has saved lives, is dissociation. Meaning that we, starting when we're very amazingly small, we use our imaginations to pretend that that thing did not happen to me. That person didn't really say that. I didn't really do this, or this really doesn't matter, to minimize or to deny. And in many cases, it can buy us some time and some breathing space, so that we can become mature enough, hopefully, or find other helpful human beings that we can then reflect upon what the heck happened, and allow our feelings to complete their course from I was calm, I got terribly distressed, now I'm talking about it. I've reflected. The talking about it and being heard is the reflection. And the reflection allows me to integrate with my experience, rather than having to keep it on the back shelf, threatening to burst out and jump at me on a daily basis. But we get busy and we get involved with life, and we're not encouraged to be real about what we've experienced and felt. It's messy. It's messy. Animals who have been severely threatened will go into freeze. And if you watch a video of this, you will see an animal that's been very severely threatened. If that animal doesn't get killed and eaten, it will then flip around and you think that animal's having a terrible seizure. The animal is discharging the nervous energy that was bound up when he or she froze. They're discharging it. But I mean, how many times do we see people out in public going, blah, 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 and we're like, yeah, guy, great, keep doing it. We're 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 we've lost most, civilized people, we've lost the understanding that we need to discharge and to allow ourselves to feel what we feel, that it's not going to go on forever. It doesn't have to capsize our whole lives, that we can be really messy on purpose right now in order to get it off our chests and then go on stronger than we ever were before. We can do that. That's what I do with people. If I have a client who is hysterical in the moment, it's like, okay, you're having very, very strong feelings. I had a woman call me one time and she was screaming. I hardly even knew her. And she said, ah, and I'm toning it down. My boyfriend just broke my arm. Ah, and I said, okay, can you tap with your other hand? So we were tapping. And by the way, the reminder phrase was, I'm so terrified, this horrible thing. I'm really feeling this. This really happened. And then at a certain point when we were tapping, so you could see the difference between pretending it didn't happen or trying to get on with life without really going, oh my God, this really is crappy. We dealt with it in the moment, and all of a sudden she heaved a big sigh and she says, oh, I think I know what to do now. And I could just practically see the electrical energy relaxing from her lower brainstem and flowing into her prefrontal cortex. She was able to think again. So this is what I'm talking about, self-integration. We push aside because we're trying to survive. Like, if I have something that is on my mind that's really bothering me, and then suddenly I'm in an emergency situation, I'm not going to go like, now I really need to think about that argument I had with my boss at the office when like a piano is going to fall on my head. I need to get the heck out of there. And that doesn't solve my problem with my boss, but it keeps me from getting squashed.
Right. Now,
but if I'm once I'm out of range of the piano falling on me, I still have that other thing to deal with. If I keep pushing it away, it's going to haunt me. I need to deal with it.
so that leads into my next question is, are there ways that dissociated aspects of self can hinder a person in their adult life?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. That is the rule rather than the exception. Because the subconscious mind wants two things. And that's what we're talking about. The dissociated aspects of self would be in what we would call the realm of the unconscious. And the unconscious wants to be right and it wants to be safe. So if I'm 5 years old and hiding, let's say even literally hiding in the closet, but hiding seems like the best idea for me to survive when, let's say, mom and dad are having a conflict or whatever it is, I get that rooted in my repertoire. Hiding is good. Hiding is safe. Hiding is the right thing to do.
Yeah.
But then I'm going on in life, and here I am at school, and I need to stand in front of the class and give a speech. That unconscious part of me is going to be like, hell, you're going to do that. That isn't safe and it isn't right. And the motive to be safe and to be accurate, there's nothing wrong with that. We need accuracy. We need to be right. We need to be safe. But I have developed a false belief.
Mm.
And if I'm going to have my life and fulfill my life, I need to rediscover that hidden false belief, examine it, and make a meaningful decision about it from my more mature perspective now. And I help people do that effectively, as you know.
I know.
Mhm.
Okay. Um, there's so much that you offer, and really a lot of it is so-called non-mainstream, um,
Hmm.
in my opinion, as your student.
Mhm.
But one of the methods or modalities, so to speak, that has really blown my mind, that you work with is the Matrix Reimprinting.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I know there are other practitioners, and they can be found sort of, if you know where to look. But somehow I feel that nobody has quite, or nobody could have quite the combination of technical understanding combined with intuitive power that you do. And so,
Thank you.
it's true. Uh, it is.
Well,
It is.
result results speak.
They
Evidence is evidence, and that's what really matters.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so first I wanted to ask you if you might launch into an explanation of what matrix reimprinting is,
Okay.
and then maybe talk about my own experience with it.
All right. First of all, matrix reimprinting is an advanced application of EFT or meridian tapping. And it's in its ultimate essence, it's like EFT, it's nothing new. Humans have been employing both tapping on the body skills, the EFT, and active imagination, which matrix reimprinting is a subset of active imagination, storytelling for thousands and thousands of years. The human mind fundamentally operates by metaphor, which is to say storytelling. It doesn't matter if you are a mechanic or an artist or a salesperson or whoever you are, your mind is working by storytelling. We know this very clearly in our dreams. Our dreams, no matter who we are, our dreams are symbolic. And
Mhm.
this is storytelling. That's because the brain works that way. Um, Carl Dawson is my colleague who coined the term matrix reimprinting. And I owe a great deal to Carl for his ingenuity and intelligence and compassion. I learned matrix reimprinting from him in Santa Fe, New Mexico, several years ago. Very interesting experience. He's a wonderful teacher. I could name several others who are wonderful matrix reimprinting practitioners, and each one of us offers a different spectrum of ancillary skills along
Sure.
with the use of the matrix reimprinting. So what the heck is it? We start with the tapping. So I have an issue, and what you cannot see it because I don't have access to both my hands at the same time. I'm holding my phone camera, but we tap on the side of the hand. We start there, the top of the head. I'm just going to, not teaching, but just showing the EFT, the basic tapping points. And this helps us to tune in to ourselves. And the last one is the underarm. You're going to have to believe me for that. And as we do that, in active imagination, we allow ourselves to suspend disbelief and meet. It's almost like the Star Trek holodeck, if you want to look at it that way. Meet the earlier version of ourself where we remember, where we recall the issue that we have first appearing. Like, let's say I have fear of speaking in public. What's my earliest memory where it seemed like it wasn't a good idea to speak up? And we may start with someone will say, well, I was 12. And then it's like, no, wait a minute. I remember earlier. But we meet with this younger self with active imagination, and we say, and I think this is wonderful. Hi, I'm you from the future. And we allow ourselves to imagine how our younger self would respond. And it's amazing how live this can become. You'd almost think that everyone we've ever been is still alive inside of us. And the fact is, that's because we are. Right the way, all the way back to conception, we're still here. We've just looked at other things and we haven't noticed for a while. So then we meet with our younger self and we say, I'm here to help. How can I help? And rather than imposing as an adult our ideas on the younger self, we ask. And for some people, this is quite a revelation, quite a journey to learn how to listen. I've had clients say, well, telling her to do this and I'm telling her to do that. And I say, excuse me, you're being a pushy adult. Listen.
Mhm.
And it can take a while. It can take a while to learn this, but I've never seen it fail yet. That when the attempt to listen to the younger version of the self where this distress and this blockage began, it opens up. And in the context of Matrix Reimprinting, the younger self gets whatever he or she asks for. You're saying, well, wait a minute. What about it's imaginal, folks. We're not out wreaking havoc in the world. Okay, with this, we're working this out in the safe space of the bubble of the imaginal, so that we do it here, and then we do not unconsciously act out, let's say, anger or violence or something like that. I had a client who had been molested as a child, and she said, I want to put my younger self wants to put bad dad in a meat grinder. I said, okay, let's do it. Oh my God, Dr. Baker, you're so violent, you're this and that. No, we're reflecting on what we're doing and we're containing it and we're allowing the impulse to run its course in the imaginal instead of physically acting it out. Thank God. All right. But generally, what I see are very touching incidents where the child will say, the younger self will say, I just want to be here with my mother and she actually listens to me. Or I just want to sit on the floor and color and dad smiles at me. It's very amazing in its simplicity. And then when we have allowed the younger self to vividly imagine, we vividly enter into imagining the fulfillment rather than the frustration and the loss. And we know the loss happened. We don't lose track of that. This is not like hypnotic, delusional suggestion. We know that whatever happened really happened. I had a colleague who, when he was 16, his mother was crushed to death right in front of him in a car wreck, and he survived. He never got to say goodbye to her. When he did Matrix Reimprinting regarding that incident and was able to vividly imagine lovingly saying goodbye to his mother, that man's face was radiant. There wasn't a dry eye in the group. It was a professional training group. It was very deeply moving. It changed his life for the better in so many ways. So when we have had this experience, then we, thanks to the creativity of Carl Dawson, I want to give him credit, we draw the wonderful, beautiful feeling of having gotten what we really desire and really require. We draw it into ourselves and we cherish it. And then we broadcast it to the whole cosmos. So, like, my joy fills the whole cosmos. It's a beautiful process, I think, and it belongs to us. And here's the technical side.
Okay.
Whatever is vividly imagined, very vividly imagined, the unconscious will take as having value on the level of an actual physical experience. Now, we're still free to cognitively know that the historical facts are what they are. We're not kidding ourselves. My colleague whose mother died, he never lost track of the fact that she really did die.
Yeah.
But the emotional climate within ourselves, we have the ability and the right to alter that in our favor, so that I no longer carry the agony. It's no longer that stress is no longer looping inside me over and over again. It's over. I had my very young child, her name was Lily, murdered. I'm not going to go into the story, but there never was any justice. I was in a very bad state for quite some time. When I used my skills to allow myself to have peace of mind, I still know that my baby died, but I don't have that raw agony draining my life away from me anymore. This was 27 years ago. It took me some time
Sorry.
to do this.
Yeah.
Another corollary to that was forgiveness, but that's another aspect. When we forgive those who have harmed us so that we can get our sanity back, and we leave whatever issues there are in terms of their conscience between them and their creator, that's healing too. But
Sure.
the matrix reimprinting, to get back to the whole cycle of it, involves letting ourselves believe that we can have a different emotional story. The historical story is there, but the emotional suffering can literally be brought down to zero. As with EFT, which we didn't mention before, what has been overwhelming stress can literally be brought down to where it does not matter to us at all anymore, to zero. Whether
And
it's
I've experienced that with you
a
during a session.
phobia or an obsession or an irritation or a feeling that I absolutely can't do something, that can evaporate to nothing. It's truly extraordinary. And what it finally comes down to is taking charge of what we believe, not just I believe in justice, freedom, yada, yada, as a conscious aspiration, but in the plumbing, the understory, in my subconscious, in the aspects of my younger self, I'm able to be relieved of false beliefs and to embrace the truth that love really does. Love and truth and my sacredness as a human being really does triumph over anything.
Thank you. You know, I've done